I sat there for 4 months thinking about this. I would lay awake at night writing this speech, and of course never writing any of it down. So I did it the last minute. So if it's disjointed or anything else, I apologize. And I'm probably a pretty good speaker if somebody else writes the speech. But thank you so much for coming. I know this is what Mom would have wanted, and I'm glad that we got the opportunity to just all enjoy and reminisce and think about her. So thank you so much for coming. And, you know, it's not a typical service, but let's face it, she was not typical. 1 in a million certainly describes her. I was thinking about this, and I wanted to tell everybody all the great things and the memories and hit on all those notes, and then I thought, but you guys all shared in that. So is there anything I can tell you that you don't know about her that might be fun? And probably not. So I had to dig deep and think of things. You know, did she have any fears? Fearless woman for sure. Hated tunnels. Hated going in the Midtown Tunnel. Would do anything she could to take the Triborough instead. Always scared that, you know, somehow she was going to die in a tunnel. Weirdest thing. She was fluent in German for years. I was asking Dad what I could tell from way back when that I might not know, and he said, well, he'll actually always remember how he married this wonderful woman, took her from her family in Kings Point where she was always taken care of, dropped her in Germany, and then went out in field training for 3 months. And when he came back, she was fluent in German, was able to go to the market and take care of herself and run the family, and got a little part-time thing to keep her busy, and as expected, was friends with everybody by the time he got home. And then I said, really? Well, what did she do? And she said, I don't know. She was very self-sufficient, and every night she had dinner at the Officers Club. Oh, he said. And then I said, yeah, Mom taking care of herself, just going out to dinner. And I'm sure a lot of you, because a lot of you met her later in life, didn't know things like she could sew and she could cook. She stayed up late one night making a robe for me that she was very proud of. I was about 8 years old. Susie actually did it with her. And it's this pink velour that I wore till it was blue in the face. And then the other thing she always used to do and was really good at was patches. Like my Girl Scout sash, she hand sewed all those on. Jean jackets, pants, you know, it was the 70s after all. We did that sort of stuff, right? She was very artistic, painted my jeans, I remember that period. And she was a really good cook, although, and I did invite like the Tech Prime guys and Sal from Piccolo's, who would never have expected that. And I think for any of the other stories about things you didn't know about her, you probably need to talk to Aunt Susie or that table over there, who went to high school with her. Although I was kind of disappointed last night, Steve, when you said, oh no, she really didn't do anything or get in much trouble as a kid. I'm not sure I should believe you. You don't have to protect the innocent when they're not here.
Cindy, I have something to add.
Okay.
Okay. Liz could write my mother's name like my mother. So when Liz got a car and her license, she would write me notes that I could hand in to the nurse that I was sick. And then we would cut school together for the day.
So when it says here that they had to sign her for second and third grade things, she signed those really? That was her. And obviously, as you all know, she was not fond of school or anything else, but we all know how well she excelled taking the courses to be the docent at the Bronx Zoo, to get her CPR training, to become an EMT. She did Reach to Recovery for the breast cancer and all those wonderful things. My mom, Lizzie, crazy lady, for those of you who knew her as that. I would say the biggest things about my mom is that she was like my grandmother. She was a lady, she was elegant, she was a homemaker and a sister and a family member, and she really embraced and loved those roles. We were talking last night about how Aunt Susie of Susie and Margie, and she loved being the big sister, but she loved the family history of her grandfather and my grandmother's family and the history in Chicago. And they would tell us stories about growing up in Chicago. They owned a brewery, if you guys didn't know that. And, yeah, it was very cool. They owned a lot of buildings. They did really well. And and now I have all that. You think I have all these pictures. You should see all the history I have from that. She, in later years, had gotten in touch with family members from across the place, people who had done family histories, with this big family tree done. She just loved family, obviously, loved friends. And as much as she was like her mother, she was a lot like her father. For those of you who did know him, you know he was generous like her to a fault. He was a great host like Mom. She was really strong and stoic like my grandfather. As we all know, she was a 3-time cancer survivor, breast and lung and later uterine. She had all of her asthma and all of her other issues. I'm not going to go on about that. I could though. She was a great leader and a great entrepreneur. The UCF and the Chamber of Commerce stuff she did, the Taste of Great Neck that she really championed. She was great at doing that. She loved organizing those parties, her high school reunion, the reunion committee, all of that stuff. She was just amazing. And of course, from both of her parents, her fabulous sense of humor, her artistic ability. She loved doing all of that stuff. And I would, of course, be remiss if I didn't say she was a real piece of ass. As you can tell from one of those picture boards as well, I think. But she was, and she did her blonde thing, and then she switched to brunette, and in the end she went back to blonde. And I'll never forget the best story. She became a brunette after, and Phyllis will say, 40, 50 years of being a blonde? And she'd come home from town and walking around and going to the stores and everything. And she was so upset. She was so disappointed. Like, what's wrong, Mom? I thought when you changed your hair color, you could go incognito and be unrecognized. Look at all those movies and TV shows. All they do is change their hair color, and nobody knows them. She said, I went into town and immediately, hey Liz, how you doing? I was so disappointed. Never got over that. And she had a bunch of great, sorry, lost my place. And I'd have to say, of all those great traits, some of which she gave me, some of which she didn't. Aunt Phyllis was just saying, she was a plumber, she was a mechanic, she was an electrician, she loved to tinker, she did all of that, none of which I got, thanks, Mom. I was very upset she knew that too. But the biggest thing that I think she did give to me, and which I think we all agree, she was comfortable in jeans, in a black tie dress. She could go from caviar and champagne to beer and pizza. She taught me how sometimes you just have to have pizza and champagne. You could mix them. And just, that was really, she was very down to the doctor that she actually did get examined. Because half hour of, how are you? What are you doing? How's your friends? What are you talking about? And then 5 minutes of, okay, let's do business. Drove me crazy when I was with her. Yeah. Come on, Mom. But that was the most important thing. And then obviously her role as a mom. I was her life. She took such great care of me when I was home as a kid with my knee problems. She just did. We'd go to Millie's restaurant, for those of you that remember. She had so much fun when you could see the tables that were really close, and we'd be sitting there, and all of a sudden she'd just look at me and go, are you doing okay with the fact that like your dad and I might get divorced or something? Because you could just see the people at the tables going like this and falling into her. And she would just go on and on and on. Of course, the first time she did it, I was kind of just staring at her like she was crazy. And we got home and she went, no, really, you could see that they were just listening in. So we're going to give them a show. And then every time we went back to Millie's, she would come up with something else and some amazing tale through the whole dinner. Just to keep these great big people in, because they were listening. The tables were closed, they were listening. Mom loved getting involved in things. One of the big things, there's a picture up here somewhere, when we redid our kitchen when I was in high school, my senior year in high school. She was going to be the contractor, so she stayed home the whole time. I got to do fun things for my senior summer year, like go to the cleaners and pick up Dad's cleaning, and run out and run all the errands and go grocery shopping, because she was watching and helping with the framing, with the stuccoing of the ceiling, with all of it. She loved that stuff. Going to Scotto's for dinner when we were constructing it. Food was always a theme in my family. And I was thinking about Great Neck, and I like watch Facebook, and you see all those, what do you remember? Scotto's, eggplant rollatini and marinara, poultry mart, fried chicken. I wasn't going to tell you the best story about my mom, and you will all appreciate this because you all know her. I came home from college one weekend and was driving a friend down because he lived in Huntington. But we got down so late, he stayed overnight, and his dad was picking him up the next morning. So we got home about midnight, 11 o'clock, and she looked at us and went, you hungry? We're kids, we're teenagers, of course we are. So, no problem, got your fried chicken, brought out all the fried chicken, said, I'll be back. Remember, this is midnight, but this was her time. She was up anyways, hanging out with us. Went into the kitchen, there was something, and Mark was flipping through the channels. Back when you had 4 channels plus HBO and the Playboy channel. So he clicks on the Playboy channel, and we got distracted or something. I mean, it wasn't like we were watching it, but it stayed on for a minute. And Mom comes in. Mark throws his fried chicken off the table and throws his chicken in frantically. Mom walks through and goes, don't worry, I saw that one. That was my mother. Mom to everybody, always a friend to everybody, just wonderful. So I, of course, didn't bring a cocktail. Where's my cocktail? To my mother, we will all really miss her. I encourage everybody to keep talking to everybody so we don't feel quite that void. But she was a great lady, and here's to Mom. Cheers.
A few weeks before she passed, we went to dinner, and she loved this restaurant called Sushi Yar in New Hyde Park. It was a hibachi. So we go, we sit down, and there's another couple next to us, very nice, young, and she starts talking to them. The whole night, she talked to them, and I'm sitting there by myself having dinner. So after dinner, I said, Liz, thanks for coming to dinner with me. Because that's what happened the whole night.
That was Mom.
Funny.
Well, thank you. Please, continue eating, continue drinking, but also we're having coffee come out about 3:15-ish, and there will be cake, because they had cake. There will be, and better yet, there will be an ice cream bar, which Mom just would have loved. So stay for coffee and dessert for sure. We have the room till 4:30. Get up, mix, mingle, have fun. Thank you again.
I'm not.
Saying it's a reunion.
Could you grab that board right there?
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I'll get it.